We see our main character reading a light novel, clearly excited and smiling to himself. This novel, it's insanely good, he thinks, genuinely impressed. He grabs a juice and starts heading back to his seat when, suddenly, he hears loud shouting from a group of classmates. Startled, he hides behind a corner. That's when he sees her, Yanami. She's clearly upset and yelling at a boy from their class, Sosuke. Seeing all this unfold, our main character thinks to himself, aren't these two my classmates? Can't couples fight anywhere other than school? Without saying a word, he quietly walks past and sits back in his seat. Meanwhile, Yanami keeps going. You should go see Karen-chan, Sosuke. She's leaving for the UK really soon. Hearing that, our main character reacts from the side. Karen-chan, isn't she the new transfer girl who just joined our class a few days ago? Wait, is she transferring again? To Britain? That's fast. Back with Sosuke, he responds with frustration. But she didn't even give me a proper farewell. Yanami gets emotional and says, she didn't want to say goodbye. She wanted to see you, idiot. Sosuke, shocked by her words, yells, and how would you even know that? Yanami's voice trembles, because I've always had feelings for you. Sosuke stands frozen in place. Then, Yanami quietly hands him his bike keys. Karen-chan's waiting for you. Go, don't keep her waiting. Sosuke, visibly confused, takes the keys and runs off. I'm sorry, Yanami, he yells over his shoulder. As he disappears, Yanami forces a smile through her tears and whispers, you don't need to say sorry, idiot. From the side, our main character observes everything and thinks, I should probably pretend I didn't just witness all of that. But just then, Yanami walks up to Sosuke's desk and reaches for his juice. She's about to sip from his straw. Our main character, totally stunned, thinks, wait, don't do it. That's seriously pathetic. But Yanami takes a sip anyway. He blushes hard, completely caught off guard. But then, Yanami notices him watching, their eyes lock. She freezes in embarrassment and immediately spits the juice out in a panic. Our main character takes a deep breath and thinks to himself, I didn't see anything. I was never here. But just then, Yanami sits right next to him. Before Sosuke can say a word, Yanami suddenly starts talking. Sosuke and I, we've been friends since we were kids. Once when we were little, he slipped a toy ring on my finger and said he'd marry me someday. As she tells this, tears start pouring down her face. She's crying so hard she can barely speak. Our main character, feeling awkward but trying to help, gently says, hey, don't cry like that. Here, drink this. It might help calm you down. Yanami silently takes it and sips. But even after drinking, her expression stays empty, like nothing in the world could lift her spirits. Nokomizu notices and looks a little uncomfortable, unsure what to do next. Just then, their food order arrives, and out of nowhere, Yanami lights up with joy. Nokomizu, completely stunned, blurts out, wait, Yanami? That fast? What did you even order? But Yanami doesn't respond. She just digs into her food, totally ignoring him, like she hadn't been crying at all just moments ago. Nokomizu, still confused, asks again, seriously, did you actually order fries? Yanami ignores the question and softly mutters, Sosuke once promised me. He said he'd marry me. Her behavior throws Nokomizu off even more, and he tries to clarify. Wait, when exactly did he promise you that? Yanami stares off into space and replies, I think it was back in elementary school. We were like, what? 4 or 5 years old? Nokomizu sighs, clearly frustrated. That doesn't sound like a real promise, you know? Yanami shoots back. But he still cheated on me, didn't he? Nokomizu raises an eyebrow and asks, hold on, were you two even dating? Yanami quietly replies, no, we were just friends. Now visibly irritated, Nokomizu responds, then you can't really say he cheated on you. Yanami insists, even if we weren't dating, we were really close. Nokomizu, now thinking to himself, sighs, this girl, she's seriously something else. Then Yanami, looking down at her food, says, if only I'd had the courage to tell him how I felt. Maybe things would have been different. I'm sorry, You had to see me like this, crying. But despite her emotional words, she keeps eating non-stop. Nokomizu watches her in silence and thinks, she's crying? And eating? At the same time, she really is something else. And in that moment, he labels her in his mind. Girls like her. They're the losing heroines. In the next scene, Nokomizu starts explaining something to us. You know, the taste of tap water actually changes depending on the faucet. I usually drink from this one because the water has a bit of a salty kick. He pauses and reflects. Even when I walk to class from here, I always keep my distance from girls. I calculate everything, even that. Cut to the next scene. As Nokomizu enters the classroom, he sees Karen-chan inviting Yanami to join her for lunch. But Yanami turns her down coldly. You two go enjoy yourselves. She starts walking away. Karen tries to stop her and says, Karen smiles warmly and says to Yanami, "You're my best friend." Watching all this unfold, Nokomizu immediately realizes Yanami's struggling way more than she's letting on. Sensing her discomfort, Nokomizu walks over to her and quietly says, "Yanami, the teacher's looking for you." Taking the hint, Yanami grabs the opportunity to escape. As she walks away, she glances back at him and says, "Nokomizu, you were helping me back there, weren't you?" He simply nods. Yanami smiles gently and says, "Thank you." Then Nokomizu, remembering something, teases her a little. "Hey, by the way, remember that money I lent you last Friday? When are you planning to pay me back?" The story flashes back briefly. Turns out during that restaurant visit where Yanami kept eating nonstop, Nokomizu was the one who ended up paying for everything. Back to the present, Yanami awkwardly says, I don't have my wallet with me right now, but I'll definitely pay you back later. Just, can you wait for me at the stairs during lunch break?" Hearing that, Nokomizu smiles and says, "I'm glad you at least plan to pay me back." After that, the two start walking down the corridor together. But suddenly, their history teacher trips and falls right in front of them. Startled, they both rush over to help her up. While assisting, Nokomizu thinks to himself, "Man, this clumsy woman. She's our history teacher." Later during lunch break, Nokomizu heads over to the school stairs, lunchbox in hand, waiting for Yanami like he promised. Soon enough, Yanami shows up and says, Yanami walks up to Nokomizu and blurts out, "I need your help. Karen-chan invited me to karaoke with them." Nokomizu, trying to be supportive, replies, "Oh, that's good news, isn't it?" But Yanami snaps, clearly irritated, "You really think that's good news? You want me to go and watch those two flirting right in front of me and just die?" Nokomizu, trying to shift the conversation, says, Yanami, about my money." But she completely ignores that and keeps ranting about Nokomizu. Nokomizu, now visibly confused and uncomfortable, finally says, "Yanami, are you even going to pay me back or not?" He pulls out a receipt and hands it to her. As Yanami looks at the restaurant bill, her face goes pale. The total is way more than she expected. Nokomizu casually says, "Of course it's high. You ordered fries, salad, wooden noodles, pancakes, basically the whole menu." Still blushing, Yanami nervously says, Nokomizu, I want to pay you back in a different way." Surprised, Nokomizu asks, What do you mean by different way?" Yanami suddenly stands up, cheeks red, voice trembling. "When I did this for Sosuke, he was really happy." Hearing that, Nokomizu freezes. He starts panicking inside, thinking, "Wait, hold on, is she about to confess to me?" But then Yanami says shyly, "I'll start making you lunch every day." Nokomizu exhales in relief and says, "Oh, so that's how you're planning to pay me back." Yanami smiles. "Then it's settled. We'll start from tomorrow." The scene then cuts to the restaurant bill, 3,670 yen. The next day, Nokomizu is sitting quietly in class, minding his own business, when suddenly a girl walks up to him and says, "You're Nokomizu, right?" He looks up confused and thinks to himself, "Who the heck is this now?" The girl smiles and says, "My name's Kamari. I'm from the literature club. I came to talk to you. Nokomizu says, why would anyone from the literature club want to talk to me? Komari, blushing hard, quickly says, because you're a member of the literature club too. And then she runs away in a full panic. Nokomizu watches her leave, stunned, and thinks, oh, right. I did sign up for the literature club. Man, I completely forgot about that. The scene shifts. Nokomizu walks into the literature club room. Inside, the club president greets him. So, you're Nokomizu? Feeling guilty, Nokomizu immediately bows and says, I'm sorry, I totally forgot to show up. The president just smiles and says, it's fine, but from now on, please try to spend as much time here as you can. The student council's keeping a close eye on our club. Later that evening, Nokomizu is in his room reading a novel when his little sister barges in. He looks up and says, Kaju, why are you in my room? Kaju, puffing her cheeks, complains, why are you always so rude to me? That's why you don't have any friends. Or a girlfriend. Then she beams and says, but don't worry, I'll make you a super cute lunchbox. When everyone sees it, they'll think you're cool and you'll finally make some friends. Nokomizu rolls his eyes and says, I don't need that. But Kaju just gets even more excited and says, aw, big bro, you already have a girlfriend, don't you? Nokomizu immediately fires back, she's not my girlfriend. She's not even really my friend. Kaju laughs and says, if she's not your girlfriend, then why is she making you lunch, huh? Nokomizu groans, she's just paying me back for a favor, that's all. Kaju smirks, oh, so it's like a business transaction now? The next scene cuts to Nokomizu sitting alone in the usual school spot. Yanami approaches him, her expression serious. She says, hey, remember how I asked for your help the other day? Nokomizu nods slowly. Yanami sighs. Well, I went to see them together. Rio and that girl. It was harder than I thought. It really messed with me. She looks away, clearly frustrated. Trying to change the subject, Nokomizu says, so, did you bring my lunchbox? Yanami hesitates, then hands it over. Nokomizu takes it, confused. But as he opens the box, his expression shifts. Inside are 2 simple sandwiches from a convenience store. He blinks, surprised. Yanami starts explaining, I was gonna make lunch for you. But while I was cooking, my mom said, I bet So-So will be so happy to eat your food. Yanami sighs again. And just like that, my motivation disappeared. So I didn't make the other 2 lunches. Nokomizu stares at the box. These are 268 yen sandwiches. Yanami, a little embarrassed, quickly hands him a fried snack. Here, this should make it 300 yen. Nokomizu raises an eyebrow. Wow, now we're talking deluxe tier. She then gives him a rolled omelet. He deadpans. Okay, now we're at 350 yen. Yanami smiles mischievously. You better return all 3,267 yen I spent on emotional effort. Next scene, Nokomizu is back in class, minding his own business. Just then, Mitsuki walks in. Hey, he says casually, I need to borrow some books from your literature club. Nokomizu nods. Sure, I'll ask the president first. Mitsuki turns to leave, but just then, Ramon enters with her usual energy. Mitsuki! Since club's canceled today, why don't we go hang out? Mitsuki quickly replies, sorry, can't. I've got tutoring today. Ramon teases Mitsuki with a playful smirk. Geez, do you ever stop studying? Live a little. Life's not just books and grades, you know? But just then, Chihaya shows up, looking a bit rushed. Mitsuki-kun, come on, we'll be late. Mitsuki gives a small nod and walks off with her. After he's gone, Ramon turns to Nokomizu. Hey, are you friends with Mitsuki? Nokomizu flinches. No, we just go to the same tutoring class. Ramon squints at him and asks, then who was that girl? Was she Mitsuki's girlfriend? Nokomizu quickly shakes his head. Nope, they're just in the same course, that's all. Ramon looks a little relieved, but also a bit down. I see, so Mitsuki likes that kind of girl, huh? Suddenly, Yanami arrives out of nowhere. Remon, what do you think of Mitsuki? Remon smiles, slightly embarrassed. Well, we've known each other since elementary school. Yanami lights up. Oh, so you're childhood friends, which means that new girl is just the third wheel. Remon blushes hard. Then she turns the question on Yanami. Wait, then what do you think about their relationship? Yanami grins confidently. They look like totally normal friends to me. Remon beams with joy, almost skipping in place. The two girls start happily spinning and giggling like middle schoolers, and seeing them smile. Even Nokumizu finds himself smiling. But the next moment, we see Yanami sitting on a bench, looking gloomy. She mutters, I got invited again today, to study at Karin-chan's house, with Mitsuki. Nokumizu shrugs. Then just say no. Yanami frowns. If I say no, then the two of them will be alone. And I won't be able to keep an eye on them. Nokumizu sighs. Well, whatever. Anyway, did you bring my lunch today? Yanami crosses her arms and scolds him. You're so rude, Nokumizu. No wonder you have no friends. I packed everything into just one lunchbox today. Nokumizu looked completely shocked. Yanami tilted her head and asked, So, what's the price this time? Nokumizu thought for a second and replied, Probably around 400 yen. Hearing that, Yanami beamed with happiness. At this rate, I'll finish paying you back before summer vacation. Nokumizu chuckled and started eating. Later, in the next scene, Nokumizu was thinking to himself, only 2,862 yen left to go. As he walked across the familiar bridge, he suddenly heard some strange noises. Following the sounds, he ended up at the school rooftop, where he found Yanami already standing alone. She noticed him and waved him over. Both of them leaned against the railing, watching Remon run around on the ground far below. But then, Nokumizu caught something that froze him. Yanami was crying. Wiping her tears, she whispered, I know it. I know I've been dumped. My mind understands it, but maybe my body hasn't accepted it yet. Nokumizu stayed silent, unsure how to react. Yanami looked at him, her voice trembling. Nokumizu, are you feeling anything for me? Nokumizu, honest as ever, said, I can't really relate. I've never been dumped before. Yanami gave a small, broken laugh. Geez, maybe you're just super popular with the girls, huh? And with that, episode 1 ends. So, friends, should I continue this story or not? Make sure to comment and let me know. The more comments and likes I get, the more I'll know that you want me to keep going. See you in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye, sayonara.